Most guys talk to impress. Playboys ask to provoke. They don't seek validation, they create emotional highs. It's not about manipulation. It's about understanding the female mind and leading the dance of attraction with confidence and precision. Ask better, trigger deeper, and remember silence is powerful, but the right words are unforgettable. What's something about you most people would never guess? This question might seem simple at first glance, but it taps into one of the deepest psychological needs every person has, the desire to be seen beyond the surface. You see, most women, especially attractive ones, are used to being observed, complimented, and even praised for the obvious. Their looks, their style, their body. But very few men dig deeper. Very few men step into that space where they seek to understand her beyond the mask, beyond the social identity she shows the world. When you ask this question, you're creating an opportunity for her to surprise you, and in doing so, to surprise herself. You're asking her to reach inward and uncover something she's probably hidden from the public eye. Maybe it's a childhood dream, an odd talent, a fear, a past trauma, or an ambition that doesn't fit her current lifestyle. Whatever it is, you're inviting her to pull back the curtain and reveal a more raw, real part of herself. And when a woman shares something like that, especially if you receive it with curiosity, not judgment, you're not just another guy. You become someone she associates with authenticity, depth, and safety. This isn't about acting like you care when you don't. This is about being genuinely interested in who she is beneath the surface, because that's what sets you apart. Most men will talk endlessly about themselves, or they'll stay in shallow territory, safe, boring topics like work, music, movies. But the man who can lead a woman into a conversation that awakens her inner world, that's the man who stays on her mind long after the interaction ends. Psychologically, this question disarms her. It's not a compliment she can deflect. It's not a yes or no question, and it's not a test she needs to pass. It's an invitation to be real, and that kind of emotional vulnerability can be powerfully attractive, especially in a world where so many people are performing, pretending, and posturing. There's another layer here too. When you ask her something most people would never guess, you're implying that you're not like most people. You're setting the tone that this is not a typical conversation, that you're not here to play the same tired game she's seen 100 times. That hint of mystery in your approach, when combined with a confident, non-needy energy, builds intrigue. She starts wondering, who is this guy? Why does he see me differently? Why do I feel like I can open up around him? And once she starts associating you with that sense of comfort and emotional freedom, you begin to occupy a very specific place in her mind, the man she can be herself with, the man she doesn't have to perform for. That's powerful, because while many women will have flings with men who impress them physically or socially, they get attached to the man who understands them, the man who sees their soul through the noise. This question is also a soft form of emotional escalation. Without touching her, without flirting directly, you're deepening the intimacy of the conversation. You're creating a dynamic where sharing is normalized, where going deep isn't awkward, it's expected. And the more she opens up, the more she feels invested. That's the law of emotional investment. People value what they pour energy into. The more she shares, the more she begins to associate you with a feeling of connection. The more she connects, the more that subtle undercurrent of desire begins to brew, not just physical, but emotional, intellectual, even spiritual. So when a playboy asks this question, he's not fishing for trivia, he's unlocking doors. He's showing her that he's playing a different game, one rooted in presence, curiosity, and power. And most importantly, he's showing her that he has the confidence to hold space for her truth, no matter what that truth is. What do you usually get away with that you shouldn't? Now this question is layered with psychological tension and intrigue, and it hits a very specific nerve in the human experience, the thrill of getting away with something. Everyone, no matter how innocent or virtuous they appear, has a mischievous side. This question doesn't just acknowledge that, it actively invites it to come out and play. And when you invite someone to reveal the parts of themselves that they usually keep tucked away, the bold, the rebellious, the secretive, you're not just sparking interest. You're inviting seduction in its purest form, mental and emotional liberation. Most conversations in dating tend to fall into the same predictable rhythm. Where are you from? What do you do? What are your hobbies? These questions are fine for small talk, but they rarely lead to real emotional engagement or sexual tension. This question, however, bypasses all that. It flirts without being explicit. It teases without crossing any boundaries, and it sends a very specific signal to her subconscious. Asterisk, you don't have to be on your best behavior with me. Asterisk, that message is rare. And that rarity is what makes it magnetic. You see, when a woman feels like she has to maintain a certain image, whether it's being the sweet girl, the good girl, the polite one, the sophisticated one, she's performing. But when she meets a man who makes her feel like she can drop the act and be a little wild, a little playful, a little chaotic, that man becomes unforgettable. Why? Because he gives her permission to be fully human, to be expressive, to be free. And that freedom, that's the breeding ground for real, raw attraction. There's a deeper level to this, too. When you ask a woman what she usually gets away with, you're subtly saying that you can handle the real her. That you're not afraid of her complexities, her contradictions, her dark edges. Most guys want women to stay safe and simple, but you're saying, asterisk, show me the chaos. I can handle it. Asterisk, that's intoxicating for a woman who's tired of playing it safe. And trust me, many of them are. This kind of question also creates a fun power shift. Normally, women are used to men trying to impress them, trying to prove they're worthy, putting on a performance to be liked. But when you throw this question into the mix, you flip the script. Now she's the one performing, not for your approval, but because she's intrigued by your energy. You've made her think. You've pulled her into a space where she's reflecting on herself in a way she doesn't usually get to. That's not just rare. That's powerful. And here's where it gets even more interesting. The answers to this question often come with a smirk, a laugh, or a sparkle in the eye. That moment when she starts to recall a time she bent the rules, pushed the boundaries, played a little dirty, that's when desire begins to form. Because she's not just telling you a story, she's reliving it. And you're right there in the moment with her, laughing, teasing, subtly pushing her toward a more unguarded state. She begins to feel like she can explore that side of herself with you. And that, right there, is what makes her crave your presence. You've become the man who doesn't just accept her complexity, you asterisk invite asterisk it. Psychologically, this question taps into shadow play. Carl Jung spoke of the shadow self, the parts of us we repress or deny. These elements don't disappear, they live within us and they crave expression. When someone gives us a chance to acknowledge and express those hidden parts, whether it's pride, lust, mischief, or rebellion, we feel a deep, unconscious connection to them. Because they're not just seeing who we are on the outside, they're helping us integrate who we are on the inside, and that process, that is intensely intimate. What makes this question so brilliant is that it walks the line between playful and provocative. It's not overtly sexual, but it flirts with the forbidden. It's not invasive, but it's deeply personal. It creates a spark without lighting the whole fire, and that's exactly what a master of desire knows how to do. He doesn't force attraction, he builds tension. He guides her into a space where she begins to feel excited, intrigued, even a little nervous, all while smiling, laughing, and sharing something she never thought she'd say out loud. And the way you react to her answer matters. If she tells you something small, like sneaking food into a movie theater, you can tease her for being a dangerous criminal with a grin. If she tells you something more intense, like manipulating a situation to her advantage, you can give her a raised eyebrow and say, "Didn't expect that from you." Both reactions let her know you're unshaken, that you're the kind of man who can handle whatever she throws your way. That's exactly what builds trust, and trust is the gatekeeper to deeper attraction. What's the one quality you wish more men had? This question doesn't just spark a casual conversation. It cuts deep into the emotional landscape of her past experiences, disappointments, desires, and unmet needs. It's not just about hearing her preferences, it's about getting her to paint a vivid picture of her ideal man. And once she does that, you gain a roadmap straight into her psyche. This is how a strategic man operates. He doesn't guess what she wants. He leads her to articulate it, and then either becomes it or subtly reflects it back to her. Most women, whether they realize it or not, carry emotional residue from men who fell short. Men who were inconsistent, men who didn't listen, men who lacked presence, ambition, integrity, or strength. When you ask this question, you're tapping into that backlog of emotional data and giving her an outlet to express what she's been silently hoping for. In that moment, she isn't just listing a trait, she's speaking from experience, from emotion, and from a place of vulnerability. That level of expression naturally creates connection. She begins to feel like you get it, like you see the gap that so many others ignored. And when a woman feels understood, that understanding quickly becomes attraction. There's also a psychological element at play here, projection. When you ask this question with a calm, confident presence, her brain starts associating you with the very quality she's describing. Especially if you remain quiet, composed, and attentive as she answers. For example, if she says, "I wish more men were emotionally present," and you're sitting there, locked in, listening deeply, giving her space to speak, she starts feeling that energy from you in real time. It's no longer a hypothetical. It's right in front of her. She's describing what she wants, and you're silently embodying it. That subtle mirroring is one of the most potent psychological triggers for connection. This question also invites her into a space of hope and imagination. Instead of recounting her past or staying in the mundane present, she's now in the realm of possibility. What if a man actually had this trait she craves? What if you did? What would that feel like? That mental shift activates her imagination, and imagination is where desire is born. Because when a woman starts to imagine what life with a man like that could be like, she's already emotionally invested. She's not analyzing you logically anymore. She's picturing a future. She's daydreaming, she's wondering. That's the doorway to romantic and even sexual curiosity. Another powerful aspect of this question is that it doesn't require you to impress her, it puts her in the position of teacher, guide, or dreamer, and that's significant. When a woman feels like she's contributing to the emotional tone of the interaction, she feels empowered. And when that empowerment is happening in the presence of a man who isn't needy or reactive, her guard lowers. Why? Because the interaction no longer feels like a performance. It feels like a co-creation. She's no longer evaluating you, she's engaging with you. That switch in dynamic is subtle but crucial, because it takes her out of the role of judge and places her in a space of emotional exploration. You also gain valuable intel through this question. When she tells you the quality she wishes more men had, you're learning what she values most, not what society says she should want, not what her friends tell her to look for, but what she deeply desires. And often that quality is linked to her love language, her emotional wounds, or her unmet needs. If she says, "I wish men were more honest," it's a signal that she's been lied to or betrayed. If she says, "I wish men were more ambitious," it tells you she craves leadership, drive, and growth. If she says, "I wish men made me feel safe," she's hinting at a past full of emotional chaos, instability, or neglect. And once you understand this about her, you hold the blueprint to unlocking her trust, attraction, and investment, not through manipulation, but through aligned presence and awareness. There's also a social dynamic at work here. Most women are used to being asked what they find attractive physically, what kind of guy they usually date, what their type is. But this question steers the conversation away from superficial patterns and into her core values. It makes her stop, reflect, and search for something meaningful. That pause, that silence while she thinks, is a moment of power for you. In that space, she's not distracted. She's fully present. She's drawing from her emotional well, and the man who can sit comfortably in that silence with her earns a different kind of respect and a different kind of attention. This is not about tricking her into liking you. It's about positioning yourself as the kind of man who sees women on a deeper level. Most guys talk at women. They throw compliments, jokes, pick-up lines trying to gain approval. But the man who asks this kind of question, he doesn't seek validation, he seeks truth, and that truth is the soil in which real attraction grows. Not the fleeting kind, but the magnetic, lasting kind that stays with her long after the conversation ends. And there's one final layer here: identity reinforcement. When she tells you what she wishes more men had, she's not just describing them, she's describing herself. If she says, "I wish men were more loyal," she's likely loyal. If she says, "I wish men were more open-minded," she probably values emotional depth and growth. So what you're really doing here is letting her reveal who she is. And when she feels safe enough to show you that, she starts attaching positive emotions to you. She doesn't just see you as attractive, she sees you as aligned with the life she wants. And that, more than anything, is how desire is ignited. What's something you've always wanted to try, but never have? This question unlocks a very particular part of the mind that's filled with fantasy, fear, curiosity, and hesitation. It's not a question about the past, it's a doorway into desire. But unlike questions that dive into her past traumas or current reality, this one leads her forward into a space of possibility. And that's what makes it so powerfully seductive. Because true seduction isn't about pressure or performance. It's about permission. It's about creating a space where someone feels free to explore the edges of who they are and who they could be without judgment. And this question does exactly that. Most people, especially women who are used to societal expectations, live with a list of unspoken dreams, things they want to experience, but have been too afraid, too busy, too restricted, or too self-conscious to pursue. These things can be wild, spontaneous, adventurous, or deeply personal, but they all have one thing in common. They've been sitting quietly in the background of her mind, waiting for someone to invite them out. When you ask this question, you're not just making conversation. You're tapping into her hidden world and letting her know it's safe to bring it into the light with you. This is a question that awakens her imagination. She begins to reflect on the experiences she's postponed. Maybe it's traveling solo to a faraway country, trying a new lifestyle, taking a bold risk, or even exploring something emotionally or physically intimate. Whatever it is, it's been lingering in the background, and now she has an opportunity to give it a voice. That alone can be incredibly stimulating, because so much of attraction is mental. The moment a woman starts engaging her imagination with you as the witness, the emotional bond begins to form, not because you forced it, but because you created the space where it could emerge naturally. You also become someone different in her mind. You're no longer just a guy having surface-level talk. You're the one who sees potential in her, even the parts of her she's hesitant to admit. You're asking her to tell you about a version of herself that asterisk wants asterisk to come out but hasn't yet, and when she does, she starts seeing you as someone who can walk with her into that future. That's where emotional intrigue turns into emotional intimacy. She begins to feel like you're not just present your asterisk possibility asterisk. You're the experience she's never had, but now feels closer to, because you're inviting her to dream again. There's another dimension to this question that plays with polarity, the dynamic tension between the masculine and feminine. Masculine energy, in its healthy form, provides direction, containment, and safety. Feminine energy, on the other hand, thrives in exploration, expression, and expansion. When you ask a woman what she's always wanted to try, you're essentially opening a container for her feminine to come alive. And when she feels like she can be expressive, creative, and curious in your presence without judgment or consequence, she doesn't just feel intrigued. She feels liberated, and that feeling is magnetic. This question also invites playfulness and teasing, depending on her answer. If she says something lighthearted like skydiving or learning to dance, you can laugh with her, explore why she hasn't done it, and joke about doing it together. If she says something deeper or more personal like falling in love without fear, or letting go of control, or trying something bold in the bedroom, now the conversation is dancing on the edge of vulnerability. And that's where the real connection lives, not in the rehearsed lines, but in the moments where she opens up a little more than she expected to. That kind of openness doesn't happen in most conversations. But with the right energy, the right tone, and the right question, it can happen effortlessly. This is also a moment of shared reflection. After she answers, you can respond with your own version of the question, not to one-up her or shift the spotlight, but to create mutual vulnerability. And when two people share their unexplored desires in the same space, it builds rapport, tension, and curiosity. Suddenly, you're not strangers or acquaintances anymore. You're co-creators in a private conversation that most people never get to have. That feeling of exclusivity, that we're having a moment here, energy, is what fuels romantic and even sexual desire. Psychologically, this question taps into two powerful triggers: novelty and anticipation. The brain is wired to crave new experiences and to respond emotionally to the idea of a future reward. When she tells you something she's always wanted to try, her brain lights up not because it's happening now, but because it might asterisk. She starts associating you with the spark of something new, something exciting, something different from her routine, and in a world that constantly tries to keep people inside safe, predictable boxes, the man who awakens that sense of adventure becomes impossible to forget. And how you respond to her answer matters more than anything. If she tells you something daring, don't flinch. If she tells you something soft and emotional, don't mock it or dismiss it. The key is to hold space with full presence to let her feel that no matter what she shares, you're right there with her. That level of presence is rare, and it's the very thing that turns a casual interaction into a powerful memory. Because what every woman wants beneath the surface is a man who not only sees her potential, but invites it out with confidence and care. When you become the man who asks this question and actually listens to the answer, you're no longer playing the same game as everyone else. You're creating a new game, one where possibility, imagination, and emotional intimacy are the currency, and in that game you're not chasing her, you're drawing her in not with pressure, but with presence. Not by trying to impress her, but by awakening the part of her that's been waiting to feel something real. What's the most spontaneous thing you've ever done? This question has a unique ability to ignite energy, laughter, and memory all in one sentence. It's a deceptively simple line, but beneath it lies something much more powerful, a direct line into her spirit of adventure. This isn't just about her telling you a cool story. It's about activating her playful, daring, emotionally expressive side, the part of her that craves excitement, unpredictability, and passion. And when a woman starts to relive those moments in her mind, you begin to form a connection that's rooted in movement, not stagnation. In joy, not logic. In memory, not analysis. That's how attraction works on a deep level. It bypasses the intellect and goes straight for the emotion. This question does something most men fail to do. It reminds her of who she really is underneath the everyday roles and routines. Many women have buried their spontaneous nature under layers of responsibility, expectations, and societal pressure. They've learned to be composed, practical, structured, but that doesn't mean the spark is gone. It just means it's dormant, waiting for the right energy to reawaken it. And when you come along with this question, you're inviting that part of her to resurface. You're saying, it's safe to be wild here. It's safe to be fun. It's safe to be free. And freedom is the gateway to emotional openness. When she begins to recall the most spontaneous thing she's ever done, she's not just telling you a story. She's mentally going back to that time. She's re-entering the emotions, the adrenaline, the thrill. Maybe it was jumping on a last-minute flight, sneaking into a concert, going on a road trip with no destination, or kissing someone she barely knew just because it felt right in the moment. Whatever it is, her body remembers what that moment felt like. The excitement, the fear, the aliveness, and now you're linked to that memory simply because you asked her to bring it back into focus. This also subtly allows you to assess her energy. Is she more reserved or bold? Does she light up when she tells the story, or does she hesitate? Either way, it's information. And as she shares, you can respond with warmth, curiosity, and a little playful teasing. If her story is wild, you can raise an eyebrow and say, didn't see that coming from you. If it's sweet or mild, you can gently nudge her with, "That's spontaneous for you. We've got some work to do." These little back and forths create chemistry. They show her that you're not just passively listening, you're engaging, playing, dancing with her energy. This question is also a brilliant way to shift the emotional tone of a conversation. If things are starting to feel too serious, too logical, or too heavy, this question acts like a reset. It pulls her out of her head and back into her body, into emotion, into memory, into the parts of life that don't have a spreadsheet or checklist attached to them. That's where most people want to live, but rarely do. When you can bring her into that space, even for just a few minutes, she'll start to associate you with that freedom. That feeling of, "I can breathe around this guy, I can be myself, I can have fun." There's another dimension here too, the opportunity for shared imagination. After she shares her spontaneous moment, you can effortlessly steer the conversation toward future spontaneity. So if you were to do something spontaneous this weekend, what would it be? Now she's imagining herself being adventurous again, and possibly with you. That's how you move from being a guy she's talking to being a man she's visualizing experiences with. The more she imagines you in her world and herself in yours, the more emotionally invested she becomes. And you didn't have to force that. You simply unlocked it through emotional pacing and thoughtful timing. On a deeper psychological level, this question also invites emotional polarity. Masculine energy is stable, grounded, and directional. Feminine energy is fluid, expressive, and spontaneous. When you ask this question with grounded masculine energy, calm voice, steady presence, confident eye contact, you become the anchor to her flow. You're giving her permission to swirl into her playful, uninhibited side while trusting that you won't judge or control her. That polarity is where chemistry lives. She feels alive in your presence because she feels safe enough to express the parts of herself that rarely see the light of day. And this question doesn't just bring out the fun stories, it often reveals her values. People are spontaneous when something matters enough to override their fear. So when she tells you about her moment of spontaneity, pay close attention to why she did it. Was it love, curiosity, a need for escape? A moment of rebellion? Those answers give you a map of her emotional wiring. And once you understand what drives her emotionally, you know how to connect with her in a way that feels personal, not generic. What's even more powerful is how this conversation leaves a lasting impression. Long after the talk is over, she'll find herself thinking about that moment, not just the memory she shared, but the way it felt to talk about it with you. She'll remember how you smiled when she lit up, how you leaned in when she got excited, how you held the space without making her feel exposed. That's the kind of memory that lingers, not because you said the perfect thing, but because you pulled something real out of her. You made her feel something she hadn't felt in a while, the thrill of being fully alive. What do you notice first when you're attracted to someone? This question might sound like a playful curiosity, but it's actually a deeply strategic move that taps directly into a woman's personal attraction blueprint. It's not about getting a compliment or fishing for validation. It's about opening a window into how she experiences desire. Most people walk around not truly understanding what draws them to others, it's just a feeling they respond to. But when you pose this question, you're challenging her to pause, reflect, and articulate that magnetic pull. And when she starts verbalizing the elements that make someone attractive to her, Her mind naturally begins to associate those qualities with you especially if you subtly mirror or embody some of them. This isn't a surface-level inquiry like "do you like tall guys?" or "are you into muscles?" It's deeper than that. It asks her to go beyond physical traits and touch the emotional, energetic, and psychological layers of attraction. You'll often find that women answer with things like, "I notice confidence," or "it's the way he carries himself," or "I pay attention to how someone makes me feel." These responses reveal the subtle triggers that spark her desire, and once she brings them into the open, she can't help but become more aware of them and the possibility of experiencing them again, possibly with you. This question also allows you to position yourself as a man who gets it. Most men focus on selling themselves, showing off achievements, bragging, or performing. But the man who leans back, smiles, and says, "What do you notice first when you're attracted to someone?" is doing something very different. He's not performing, he's inviting. He's guiding the energy of the interaction inward, toward reflection, imagination, and vulnerability. That shift is powerful. It changes the dynamic from one of pursuit to one of intrigue. She stops feeling like she's being chased and starts feeling like she's being understood. That's the difference between temporary interest and lasting emotional engagement. What makes this question particularly effective is that it triggers a self-revealing loop. As she speaks, she becomes more aware of what her desires actually are, and often this brings up more than she expected. She might start with something physical, like a man's smile or his scent, but then it quickly moves into energy, his presence, his calmness, his mystery. That's your opportunity to embody those traits in real time. Don't just listen, become a live reflection of what she's describing. If she says she's attracted to confidence, maintain steady eye contact. If she says she notices a man's voice, lower your tone subtly, slow your speech, let your words linger. Without ever saying, "I'm the guy you're describing," you're letting her feel it. And feelings always outweigh logic in the world of attraction. The beauty of this question is that it leads her inward. It turns the conversation into a subtle form of introspection. Attraction, for many women, is less about what's visible and more about what's felt. When you prompt her to explore what she feels in the presence of someone who draws her in, she starts to relive those sensations. Her mind and body begin to remember the moments when she felt genuinely pulled towards someone, the butterflies, the nervous laughter, the eye contact that lingered too long. And because you're the one leading her through that journey, you become tied to the emotional resonance of those memories. She begins to feel those things again, but this time while looking at you. It also creates an immediate moment of intimacy, not because the topic is overly sexual or personal, but because it bypasses the usual defenses and small talk. You're not asking about her job, her hobbies, or her favorite food. You're inviting her into a space where she can be honest about her instincts, her reactions, her emotional compass. That kind of honesty is rare, and people crave what's rare. When a woman feels like she can have a real conversation that most people are too afraid to initiate, she begins to value you as rare. You stop being another guy and become a man who made her feel something different. And that distinction sticks. There's also a subtle power dynamic at play here that works in your favor. When you ask this question with calm curiosity and zero desperation, you're demonstrating emotional control. You're saying, I'm secure enough to hear what you find attractive, even if it's not me. That level of detachment, that quiet confidence, is intoxicating. It shows that you're not seeking approval, you're exploring. You're not asking because you need her to pick you. You're asking because you find her mind and instincts interesting. That flips the script. Now she's the one seeking to be seen, understood, and appreciated. Now you become the prize. This question also opens the door to playful tension. Depending on how she answers, you can subtly flirt, tease, or challenge her. If she says, "I'm into guys who are a little mysterious," you can smile and reply, "Then I guess I'm going to have to stop revealing so much." If she says, "I notice hands first," you can slowly show yours and say, "Then I hope these are up to your standards." It's not about being cheesy, it's about riding the line between sincere interest and mischievous fun. That blend is where attraction simmers. It's where chemistry is built. Another underrated aspect of this question is that it encourages her to visualize attraction. Visualization is one of the most powerful tools in human psychology. When you guide someone to picture something in their mind, especially something emotionally charged, they begin to feel it in their body. And feelings create bonds. When she's picturing the kind of man who makes her heart race, and you're sitting there calmly embodying those exact traits, her subconscious starts to blur the line between fantasy and reality. That's not manipulation, that's alignment. You're not pretending to be someone else, you're becoming the man who resonates with her unique emotional frequency. Finally, this question lays the groundwork for future conversations. Once she tells you what attracts her, you now hold a key to her emotional door. You can use that information in subtle ways in your tone, your behavior, your presence. But more importantly, it becomes a thread you can return to later. You can recall her answer and say, "You mentioned confidence pulls you in. Funny how your energy shifted just now when I leaned in." That kind of callback shows that you were listening, truly listening, and that you're paying attention to how she responds to you in real time. Most men don't do that. And because most men don't, the one who does leaves a lasting mark. And in the end, that's what separates the average man from the one who lingers in her mind long after the conversation is over, the man who doesn't just talk, but makes her feel. By asking these kinds of questions with calm confidence and genuine curiosity, you're not just playing a game, you're creating an emotional experience. You're guiding her into a space where attraction becomes effortless, magnetic, and deeply personal. Desire isn't about being flashy or perfect, it's about being the man who sees her, understands her, and knows how to make her feel alive. That's the real secret. And once you master that, everything else becomes easy.